Am I truly willing to believe that the world is only safe when I reject the truth of who I am? Am I only willing to believe that life at large is only benevolent towards me when I repress what is true about me? It's almost a limitation that we place on God, on Source, or the universe. We are saying the universe, or God, or Source is only benevolent. Only when I shut down the truth of who I am. Is that a version of the divine I really want to believe into? I believe that we get scared of all light. But I also agree that all light and embracing it will not let us get away with not loving our inadequacies. It comes up as this beam, and it's just highlighting the places where your love is still missing. And it's saying, we can't go any further if you don't bring this part with you. This part needs to come into the light too. And I think this is what truth does. As soon as you bring light in, it shows you, well, this is still an aspect of you that you perceive as an inadequacy. I need you to descend light and love here.
Yeah.
Love it. I think that's ultimately what shadow work is all about.
Beautiful soul, welcome back to the Abundance Club podcast. I'm so happy that you are here and that you have decided to tune into this episode today. I have been sitting with this one deeply since recording it. And, there's some conversations that just don't land only on the mental level, but they really land in your system. They really meet you there. They activate something within you. And this was surely one of those conversations. I had the immense pleasure of sitting down with Xavier Dagba, a shadow integration facilitator and a teacher devoted to self-liberation and embodied wholeness. And we go into something that I think so many of us have lived or are living, but we don't always have the language for it. And Xavier has this real skill at being able to offer such a deep perspective from his own lived experience, and he's able to put words and language to something that feels really indescribable often. And it's that feeling, that experience of being stuck or feeling stuck, of knowing that there's more for you, and yet something within you isn't fully moving. And what I've come to see so clearly is that often it's not that we're blocked in the way that we think we are. And I don't even like using that word blocked, but it's that subtle and the unconscious ways that we have learned to leave ourselves. And in this conversation, Xavier shares so beautifully on self-liberation, on shadow integration, and on what it really means to return to wholeness, to embrace our light, to love all of ourself. And what I really love about the way that he speaks is that it's not just conceptual, it's deeply embodied. You can feel that this comes from his own lived experience as he shares in this episode. We explore self-abandonment as a core survival pattern, the ways that we fragment from ourself in order to stay safe, to stay acceptable, to stay connected to others, and how that plays out as procrastination, as self-sabotage, as of feeling stuck in your life. And most importantly, we begin to unravel what it actually takes to come back home to yourself, to meet yourself, to embrace your humanness, to live as you, which is why we're here. So as you listen, the invitation is to not approach this with analysis or overthinking, but just to listen for that recognition, for that resonance, for the moment where something in you goes, I know this, I do this, I felt this. Because so often what we call being stuck is actually just the moments where we've stepped away from ourselves. And what this conversation does so beautifully and honestly, it invites you back. It invites you back home. So I really look forward to sharing it. Take a breath with me, soften into your body, and just let this one land. Let it meet you where you're at. So without further ado, I'm so delighted to welcome the beautiful Xavier Dagba. Xavier. I have Xavier Dagba in the Abundance Club today. Thank you so much for being here. It's great to have you.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I feel like I just entered the VIP room of being human here, Abundance Club. Like, who wouldn't want to be here? So I'm excited.
You're in the club now. Your life will forever be changed.
I
We'll
love
see.
that.
So
Yep.
I think I just feel all of this joy this morning. I know it's my morning and your afternoon, evening, but I just feel this real joy. And I feel like that's just being in your presence. So you just have an incredible energy about you. And I'm sure you have been told that. I think when we can really feel the resonance of someone's energy so alive, I just think it's such a gift. So I'm feeling that already. I'm excited, therefore, for what is going to unfold in this conversation. Those who listen to this podcast know that I like to go beneath the surface. I like to
Yeah.
go deeper. And you strike me, Xavier, as someone who has, walked the path to unearth what it is that's beneath the surface, what it is that resides in your soul and that deeper truth and wisdom. And now you guide others to do the same through this journey of self liberation. So I think that's really beautiful. There's a depth and an embodiment in the way that you share that tells me that this hasn't just been an intellectual journey for you. It's been lived. So I guess let's begin there. Like what it's taken for you to arrive here. What was that moment or those moments where you just felt like I have to step up into this work and serve in a way that I know is kind of part of my divine assignment in the way that you do today. Do you want to start there?
I do. Thank you for the way you put it. I really appreciate it. And also I want to humble myself a little bit. I'm still walking the path and I'm still figuring this out. What has it taken to embrace this mission? Of course, I've tried to make it intellectual, and it didn't really work that way. I've tried to approach it entirely through the mind and understand concepts, at the very least, thinking that I understand concepts and wanting to live from a place of mapping the world through my mind and navigating the world that way, but it hasn't really worked that well for me. It hasn't been the experience. What I've noticed is my body is not willing to follow my mind's direction in the places where I am completely disintegrated. What I'm trying to say is sometimes we have some insights and some thoughts, some concepts that we intellectually get, and at some point we just need to move that from insight to embodiment, and that's what the journey has been. I came to many points in my life where I felt like I was spiritually constipated, meaning there was so much that wanted to move through me, and I just didn't have the capacity, the spiritual stamina, the emotional capacity to bring these things to fruition, and that created a great deal of frustration. It's like I know better, or I think I know better. I have these concepts, I have information that might be a little discombobulated in my head. How come I feel unable to act on it? So let's say in 20 2013, 2014 was a main moment of dissonance. At the time I was still engaged in a PhD program in economics, and I was just like, no, I need to stop. Something is not adding up. The way I'm living is not making sense to me anymore. I can no longer justify doing that. And then I go into another career. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do health coaching. This is what is for me. And I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm just supporting people at a level of symptoms. I feel like I'm not supporting them at the level where my soul really wants to support them. And then I try to negotiate with myself. I do that for years. And, comes 2016, 2017, 2018, I still try to fit myself into that space, and I go through episodes of depression thinking there is something wrong with me, and in a moment there's a realization. I am attempting to silence a voice within me that won't be silenced, and it's creating suffering, and that voice is pointing towards fears that I haven't allowed myself to face yet. fear of being humiliated, fear of being alienated some more, fear of loss, fear of, many identity death that I need to go through to actually give birth to the mission that wants to be alive through me. And that's what led me to my work. It was like, okay, what does it look like to surrender to these fears as master teachers and to see where they're going to lead me instead of processing them, maybe allowing them to process me for a second and to see how I emerged from that. I would say that arc summarizes a lot what my journey has been, like many little dark nights, not for the soul, because my soul knows no dark nights, but my ego, the idea of who I think I
Mm.
am,
Mm.
has known many dark nights, and it will still happen. So this is just to summarize a little bit what the journey has been conceptually, but I can give plenty of examples of just
Mm.
moving through the muck and surrendering to the mystery of what it means to be human.
Yeah. And it's so powerful to share that. I mean, I just feel like I read somewhere how the first part of our life is like our research. Like
Yeah,
we try out different things and we think that this is the thing that we want to do, and we're gaining all of it like information, right? We're just gaining that information on the way. And then because I can resonate with that as well. I was a yoga teacher and had yoga studios and all of that. And it feels like we're doing part of this, but we're kind of dancing around the truth that really wants to be expressed through our soul. I love that you said spiritual constipation. I have never heard that before. And I think that it's just, you teach, Xavier, on self-liberation, right?
hmm,
So allowing that to come through. And I think, to truly experience self liberation, we need to first understand self-abandonment. And you touched on that as well, in the way that we unconsciously betray our own truth in order to feel safe and be accepted and to belong. Like we prioritize belonging over everything until it
yeah.
gets to that point where we can no longer ignore that. So can you speak a little bit more about that moment in your journey when you realized you could no longer abandon your truth, even though there was no doubt so much fear around that? But it's that threshold point of like, I have this choice here, but it almost becomes like not even a choice because you get to that point of realizing that I can't abandon my soul. Do you want to
Yeah.
speak a little bit like what shifted in that moment?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, self-abandonment, we don't realize how ingrained it is. I often think of it as the true original sin that the Christian religion wants to refer to. I'm not a big fan of the term original sin, but I see self-abandonment as this core survival mechanism we all share, which is basically, if I am under the impression that the world is not ready for my fullness, I need to fragment. I need to hide the parts of me that I don't believe are going to be accepted. So we abandon ourselves. That's what we do. And it is so difficult to transform that because it is literally, I see it as evolution in real time, trying to undo self abandonment. Because that ancient brain is wired for it. It's like, it doesn't matter what it takes for me to fit into this world, to be safe. I'm going to do what I have to do. So, in order to transform self abandonment, I think we actually need to go through one thing that I like to refer to as unconscious identity shifts. We usually do not realize that the identity shift that we say we want to claim very often happen at an unconscious level. I'm going to take an example. When I graduate from when I graduate from high school, we're talking about the years 2020, 2006. And spirituality has like another birth, like the movies, The Secret, and things like that are emerging. So I get into material like that, not really understanding what is actually going on a fully conscious level, but the seed is planted and the seed takes root. You create your own reality. What the fuck are you talking about? What is that supposed to mean? And it resonates on a level that I don't really
Mm,
understand.
mm,
But the seed is planted, and it plants basically the invitation to embrace a new identity. Many of us, we are not aware of the fact that we have spiritual Trojan horses inside of us. It's like material we've read in a book that resonated on a deep level that is in there. And then it starts to mature. You start to gather evidence to see, like, oh, maybe there's truth to that thought form that I just internalized. And then at some point, you're like, if I create my own reality, why am I stuck in a PhD program that I don't want to do anymore? So a part of me is just like, this is no longer the reality that fits who I am on
mm.
a deeper level and who I aspire to be on a bigger level. So the identity war begins inside. And usually that's where people begin to struggle with, oh, I need to stop this self-abandonment, because we need to realize that there needs to be the emergence of the self before we even realize, oh, self-abandonment is ongoing.
Yeah.
And at that moment, when the fracture, it's like the daily fracture of choosing something that is not aligned with who you know yourself to be right now in this moment, when it begins to outweigh the fears that are so ancient that we've been internalizing, this is where we start looking for solutions. So if somebody is dealing with self-abandonment at the moment, I would say that the fear of alienation, because that's the one that is at the core of it. If I don't want to be alienated by the world around me, I would rather alienate myself. Meaning, people are willing to settle for a version of belonging, pseudo belonging, that requires that they exclude themselves.
Mm, mm,
So many people who are deciding to transcend self abandonment are coming up with this question: am I truly willing to believe that the world is only safe when I reject the truth of who I am? Am I only willing to believe that life at large is only benevolent towards me when I repress what is true about me? It's almost a limitation that we place on God, on Source, or the universe. We are saying the universe, or God, or Source is only benevolent only when I shut down the truth of who I am. Is that a version of the divine I really want to believe into?
mm.
Could it be possible that I am just invited to build the capacity, the spiritual, the emotional capacity to hold what is truth? And I feel like this is a collective training we are going through.
Yeah.
Building the capacity to live truth within ourselves. And that requires that we face some of these core fears that we've internalized, pain from the past that we project onto the future. That's what these fears are. And if alienation is one of them, the inner alien, which is basically that part of you that says, oh, you don't know how to love me when you risk being alienated.
Mm,
So I need you to come around here to descend love right here. And the moment I can feel and trust and sense that you know how to be with me, even when you risk alienation, you're going to be free to be yourself. So it's a full-blooded transformation. It is not just mental, it is somatic, it's emotional, it touches all the different layers of your being. And that's what I want to say. That's the best way I can offer this at the moment.
I love that. I'm curious to know, Xavier, about your relationship with God, the divine, whatever that relationship is for you, because that's ultimately what you're speaking to, is like, how do I come to not only discover that and accept that, but to live as that, right? To live as that truth without abandoning myself, like without abandoning that, without feeling like I have to have the masks and the layers and the cloaks. Was there a moment where you felt yourself stepping more fully, like embracing that connection, like almost like stepping out of the spiritual closet and allowing that part of you to be fully seen, allowing that part of you to come through in your work? Because this is an interesting edge as well for many. And I'd love to know how you cultivated that relationship and continue to nurture that.
Yeah.
even though there may have been fears.
On so many level, the connections was already there, and I had so many human projections on the divine, on God, and all of these different things. I
Mm.
never had an issue believing that there is God, that there is source. I never had an issue with that. I was brought up in a Christian, devout family, Catholic family. So I had an issue with, well, the version of God that you're presenting to me that I need to be afraid of, I have just an issue fundamentally with this thing. I don't want to have to be afraid of God. Like, what the hell is this? That was my issue with that. So I played the role of the rebel in my when it comes to
Mm.
religion, spirituality in my family. I was like, I refuse. I just refuse to believe in a version of God that I need to be terrified of. I don't want to be God fearing. I want to be God loving. And I want to believe that this is like going both ways. My first journey was come to embrace this as the new foundation of my relationship with God. And I remember moments when I was going through estrangement after choosing to step out of the PhD, and you know, I got a scholarship to come to Canada for a PhD in economics. So when I decided to drop it, from a guy who was born and raised in Africa until I was 24, and it was just like a golden opportunity. For my
Mm.
family, it was just
Mm.
madness. It was just madness. So going through these moments of estrangement, I was just like, first, I refuse to take all the estrangement, all the loneliness, all the alienation, all of that. I refuse to see it as divine punishment for making a choice that is true to who I am. I just refuse.
Mm.
It hurts, it sucks, it's painful, all of that, yes. Did I go through a year plus 2 years of depression? Yes. Do I choose to see it as some sort of punishment for not being a good kid? Hell no. And I just owned these thought forms. And right now, the relationship that I have with the divine is like I choose to see benevolence even in the things that are the darkest. And that's hard to say. It is really hard to
Mm.
say because sometimes we go through shit that is so challenging and we're just like, how can there possibly be benevolence in here? And I get that. I totally get that. Lately, I've been observing how we're relating, it's going to sound so far fetched, to social media and how we have algorithms who are paying attention or that are paying attention to what you're noticing, what you're engaging, what you're saying you're hating, and the algorithms are giving you more of that.
Mm.
What you spend your time on, the algorithms are giving you more of that. Um, and sometimes the algorithm is going to just give you something that seems coming out of the blue, like new content, new creator you haven't seen before. To just see, are you interested in that? No, and then you never see that again. The relationship I have with the divine right now is like, oh, there is a divine algorithm.
Mm.
And that divine algorithm to me is also God. And that divine algorithm is basically me telling God who I need it to be for me right now.
Mm.
When I, and to me at this moment, it is one of the most, um, I don't want to, maybe accurate relationships with God I've had so far. Almost like in every now moment, the divine asking me, who do you need me to be for you, Xavier, now? Who do you need me to be for you right now? And if I say, you're the punitive father figure in the sky that is punishing me for the things I do wrong, for all the ways I'm a sinner and all of that, I'm experiencing a lot more of that. And then I need to be afraid of you. And if I say, you are a benevolent force that is here to support me as the, co-creator that I am, and I work in harmony, and every time I work in harmony with that co-creative force, life expands, aliveness expands, and even in the moments where I am experiencing dark nights, when I feel like I cannot carry myself, that divine essence that is also alive inside of me is actually what is carrying me. And I am experiencing more of that. It feels like it is a more
Mm.
cooperative way of operating with this. So I've gone through different moments of just owning it. Like, this is what I'm into. And sometimes, has it created forms of alienation? My family is still very Catholic, like devout Catholic. And and one time we had a conversation, I was just like, if this is the reason why we're gonna hate each other, oh my God, shame on all the love that you've been
Mm.
professing.
Mm.
And I that's what I said in a moment of deep
Mm,
pain. And I am more in a place where I can understand and I can accept if this were to be the reason why we would not connect. Turns out it hasn't been. And but I had to make peace with the possibility. Oh, they may decide that I have gone on the dark side just because of this way of relating to God.
mm, mm.
But this is not what happened. So yeah. Coming out of the closet has just been owning it in the way share, I create in just in this conversation, just mentioning it out loud. It's another way of owning it. I don't know who will be listening to this conversation and think,
Mm,
well,
mm,
this guy's a nut job. And that's okay.
yeah. I love the way that you speak about it, and Xavier, you have this real conviction. It's like in your choice and in your decision around what that means for you and what you choose it to be, which shows me that you're really in that co-creative element, right? With
Hmm.
the God force, the divinity that you are. I think so much of the time, and I guess this brings us around to this conversation about outsourcing our power and outsourcing our authority. I mean, we have been living through times where we look to external authorities for the answers and for safety and for guidance. And I believe that time is shifting rapidly. And
Yeah.
we're gearing up towards more of this return to our soul and return to our soul authority. And it can feel particularly destabilizing when we have been so used to doing that. We've been so used to just continually outsourcing our truth and guidance. So I'm interested to know from your perspective, like how you support someone to begin to cultivate this journey of soul reclamation or inner authority when we have been so heavily conditioned to outsource it to the world around us, like continually, daily.
Yeah. I think we cannot avoid the collective invitation for individuation, which is a process of just coming to the truth of who you are. I think we can't avoid that. I think the earth is demanding it. I think
Mm,
collectively we need it. And how do I support people who are going through this? Um, I really think light is a very intelligent system. What for me, individuation, or for me, the process of reclaiming our own inner authority, it is the process of reclaiming our own light. That's how I see it.
mm,
And when I pay attention to what light is as an instrument, it is an instrument of disruption before it is an instrument of liberation.
mm.
When people relate to light as this beautiful experience, heaven like experience, I'm just like, yeah, it is that too. But as it descends, or the way it wants to descend right now, it no longer wants us to avoid anything. It wants us to reclaim everything. I often like to say the human self is the final boss of the journey of spiritual maturation. And I feel like this is where that light is bringing us at the moment, saying, I need you to accept the things about yourself that you didn't believe you could ever accept. So, to me, I identified as master teachers, core fears, and every upgrade that I've seen for most people is inviting them to face one version of these: humiliation, alienation, or betrayal, loss, persecution, or a death of an identity. This kind of like five horses of I like to think of it as inner apocalypse, which is really inner revelation because that light wants to reveal itself. And in order to reveal itself, it has to take you through um, a dissolution of some sort. So very often when somebody is coming to me, the first thing that we're going to be doing is to identify what are the horses that they are dealing with. Is it humiliation? Is there a divine invitation in the threshold that you're going through to embrace fully the parts of you that you felt like, oh, if I bring forth these aspects of me, I risk being tremendously humiliated. if I bring forth this part of me that wants to maybe shine a little brighter, that wants to bring more of my presence into the world, my voice into the world, I am going to be humbled or ridiculed in ways that I don't want to be ridiculed. And that points at many different things. Sometimes there's a subtle version of, I want to say, arrogance that we have there, which is very hidden for many people. But because the fear of humiliation often says, I only want to receive praise. If I don't have guarantees of receiving praise, I'm hiding. And that also means, to a certain degree, there is a desire or maybe an entitlement to praise. And that means, to a certain degree, we put our true selves on a pedestal. Meaning, if I am going to bring my true self here, I only want praise for that. If I get ridicule or pushback for my true self, I cannot have that. And sure, there is some pain in the body, and sure, there's ancient pain in the body and all of that. But when we recognize, oh, there's a tiny bit of arrogance there, there's an invitation to take ourselves off the pedestal and sometimes embrace. It is totally possible that I bring my light in the world and I get shamed for it and ridiculed for it. And then that part of you is asking, well, can that be okay? Can that be okay? These are master teachers, and they are actually these are the forces inside of ourselves that we cannot bullshit. Like that fear is so, it is so visceral. We can't bullshit it. If your body feels the panic of getting humiliated, you're not stepping on stage. You're not showing up to teach that class. You're not going to promote that thing that you want to promote with the fire needed to really to have it magnetize the people it needs to magnetize. And same thing with all these others. Alienation. That inner alien coming up and says, I have my quirks. And I actually don't want to get rid of my quirks. Can that be okay for you? Can you embrace that? Is it possible for you to still love me even when mom says, man, I don't know if I can go out in public with you? Or if your dad says, I'm ashamed about what you're doing for work. You had so much potential to do this, and this. Look at what you're doing with your life. Can you still love me even when I feel like an alien? That inner alien says. And all these different tiny things. Same thing with the fear of loss that is emerging and saying, am I still going to be the collateral damage, says your soul? You are okay with losing touch with me. You know, instead of losing this potential thing that you might lose. And that potential thing varies from one person to the other. Is it a fear of losing, status, reputation? It doesn't matter. We all have our stuff. And your soul comes up and says, I need you to be in a place where you are willing to afford or to make peace with everything that you may lose in order to stay in touch with me. I often like to say, all light is, I'm sorry for my language here, but all light is a demanding motherfucker to the human self.
Yeah.
Just to the human self, because you basically got to build the body that can withstand all these things that the ancient brain is scanning, saying, oh, I may get humiliated, I may get alienated, I may get this, and this. Some people try to bypass it, but it's not sustainable. I've done that. I've tried to bypass these fears, and I'm like, it's almost as if I'm trying to hold my breath all the time. And at some point, it gets exhausting. It's like, can I just freaking be human?
Yeah.
And also shine my light imperfectly. And also show up in connection, in love, in relationships, doing the best I can, but also knowing that I am just freaking human. And yes, I can do the best I can to be as heart-centered as possible. And also, I am freaking human. I think we've gotten to the point in our journey of collective expansion where our higher self is saying to us, I will not be taking you further until you bring with you your human self. And I think it's just a beautiful conjunction happening at the moment.
I want to ask you a question. Have you ever felt the pull to start your own podcast? Because here's the truth. Podcasting isn't just a platform. It's one of the most powerful ways for you to build authority, intimacy, and global reach right now. Over 460 million people are listening to podcasts worldwide, and that number is only growing. But what makes podcasting different is the depth. This is where your voice doesn't just get heard, it gets felt as a transmission. Podcasting has completely transformed my life. It has allowed me to share my message in its purest form, to build deep trust with my audience, and expand my visibility and impact in ways I never could have imagined. And if you have been feeling the nudge yourself, that desire to share your voice, but the tech, the strategy, and the setup has just felt too overwhelming, I want you to know it doesn't have to be that way. That's exactly why I created Amplify. Amplify is a high touch, soul led podcast experience created in collaboration with my podcast producer, Sovereign Creator. In just 30 to 40 days, we take you from idea, from that initial spark, all the way into a fully realized, polished, professional podcast. We're talking your unique podcasting strategy, seamless done for you tech setup, elevated and aligned branding, and your first 3 professionally edited episodes ready to launch into the world. This isn't just about starting a podcast. This is about you stepping into visibility in a way that feels safe, supported, and deeply aligned with who you are and who you came here to be. You don't need to figure it out alone. You don't need to dilute your message. You don't need to stay hidden any longer. Your voice carries power. Your voice carries connection. Your voice opens doors. And most importantly, your voice is your currency. So let's amplify it. Details are in the show notes. Click on Amplify, and we can't wait to invite you in to this experience. I love that. And I love also the way, I mean, I begin to love it. Like it's completely uncomfortable. I think that we have to be able to normalize the loss that occurs, because I think we as humans we get so attached to the things that have defined us, right? Like the relationships or the job or the role or whatever it is, like we're clinging to that because we think that that's who we are, and we think that that defines us. And so I know for me, and I love the way that you're talking about with this, with the light, that it creates the disruption before the liberation, and we're bringing light to those parts of us that has been concealed. We get so scared to do this because we're afraid of the loss. But I love the way that you speak to this. How do we, what are some of the signs? Because you teach so beautifully in this way around the shadow and around
Hmm.
embracing it, like bringing it all to life. Like we've been so used to casting that aside and thinking that that's not me, and I need to distract myself from that, push it away, numb it, do anything I can to avoid it. And we know that this journey is all about coming back into our wholeness, like remembering that even that is part of my wholeness. So how do you begin to support people to alchemize that, what they've seen as darkness, dense shadow, into the fullness of their light, into the full spectrum of their light? Like what are some of the signs that we're starting to integrate our shadow rather than just being more aware of it intellectually?
Yeah. I would say the ability to, like, noticing every episode of Resistance as your shadow, saying like, "Hey, we need to chat." Noticing every single moment where there might be a reactivity happening as your shadow raising its hand and saying like, "Hey, we need to have a talk." I think the way we relate to these moments, to me, it says a lot about someone's relationship with their shadow. Because I believe that all work on this realm of duality is to create, if I'm about to use a language of relationships, it is to create a secure relationship with our light, and at the same time, a secure relationship with our shadow. If you think about it from the lens of relationships, most people have an avoidant attachment with their shadow, and with their light, it's I would say at best it's anxious. It's like we crave it, but geez, we don't know how to trust it because sometimes it comes with, you know, consequences that we don't seem to like. It's like, oh, if I shine my light, therefore something is gonna happen that I don't necessarily want,
Mm.
but I crave it so much.
It's kind of
So
conditional.
yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. So I would say just the realization that in all these moments, there's an invitation to lean in even more. One of the first attributes of light in my experience is, let me put it differently, of our ability to express light, because there is this impersonal light that emerges from the soul, and then there is our ability to answer the call of the light, which is descend me. If light could speak, it would say, descend
Mm.
me, or let me reach the deepest layers of your being. And if we are to answer that invitation, it's like, am I willing to see the thing that I didn't want to see before?
Mm.
Am I willing to see that? And for many people, that alone, there's a lot of negotiation there. It's like, am I willing to see the grip of the fear of loss onto me? Am I willing to see the grip of the fear of persecution inside of me? Am I willing to sit at the altar of the part of me that felt persecuted in the past and to learn how to undo the conditioning that I need to shut down my heart to that part of me? Am I willing to be in my own skin in the moments where I feel confused, in the moments where I feel lost, in the moments where I feel uninspired, in the moments where I feel like I want to shut down, in the moments where I feel completely meaningless and outside of my purpose? What is my ability to be in my own skin in these moments and to not be avoidant with myself? I think that alone, which is the capacity to say it is safe for me to remain in my body even when, and fill in the blank with your most favorite state that you love avoiding. If it's feeling rejected, if it's feeling hurt, if it's feeling confused, if you're creative and you're like, I can't handle myself when I my mind is just blank, or I can't handle myself when I feel completely directionless.
Yeah.
It's like, this is where love is needed. That is what the shadow is basically asking. It is saying, are you willing to see the things that you couldn't see before? I've been holding them for you for decades.
Mm.
But the next level of expansion that you've called for is asking that you are able now to do consciously what I have been doing for you unconsciously. Because the shadow is a servant. Point blank, period. That's it, that's all to me. The shadow is in service of your capacity to fit into this world. And the moment you go through the sacred threshold, which is the threshold of consciousness, where you say, I am now willing to become more fully conscious and to hold that and to hold wholeness, basically. This is
Mm.
what we are saying.
Mm.
I
Mm.
want to be able to hold wholeness consciously.
Mm.
I want to be able to hold my fullness consciously in a world that was not ready for my fullness. That's a tall order. And
Yeah.
when we say that, the shadow is honoring the call and saying, okay, here you go.
Mm. Mm.
Here is something I used to hold for you. That right now you've decided you want to hold your wholeness. So there you go.
Yeah.
It's a cooperative dance. And I think that alone is a perspective that when people really embrace it, not just as an intellectual thing, but as a full cellular shift in how they approach the things that are uncomfortable, the things that are bringing fear, it takes people such a long way. It's like, it is safe for me to be with it. I've seen even in the moments where we feel like there is so much emotion that is emerging that we feel like we cannot handle it. And yes, I agree, it's totally necessary for people to honor their capacity. But the shadow is also saying that emotional intensity that you are facing right now consciously, I've been holding that for you for years.
Mm.
I've been holding that for you for decades. You know how to hold this thing. You just don't know you know yet. And as you're sitting with me here, and with the only commitment to remain here in the best of your capacity, you reclaim the gift to be able to hold your own intensity. And I believe this is the biggest gift that the shadow has for us. If we
Mm,
were to look at the shadow as a master teacher as well.
mm. I love that reframe because you then see it as loving, right? You see it as for you and as part of this collaborative dance. And when we can start to see life, that everything that's coming up and our triggers and the challenges and everything that we're moving through, when we can start to see it as something that is for us, loving us back into wholeness, as you said, right? Like loving us back into wholeness, it just changes the dynamics, because I think that we have been so conditioned to believe, like to shame that part of us, to keep it away, and our programming and conditioning is got such a strong grip on us. Like, do not let that part of you be seen. And I love the way that you speak about it in being this dance and getting that information. And when you ask, when you ask to be shown, it's like, look out. And what I'm understanding in hearing you speak, Xavier, is this is all like we are called to our next level, whatever
Yeah,
that is, because we have our dreams, we have our desires, and we are called to our next level. But in order to get to that next level, we have to be able to let the old vessel die, and we have to be able to hold more of that light that wants to come in for us.
yeah,
And so this journey is that we get to uncover the parts that were disowned, bring them back into life, and then there's into the light, and then there's more of us then to hold and to fully claim as our true self. So I just think that that's so beautiful and so powerful. When we talk about intuition, and you are someone who's clearly tapped in with the divine, and I've seen even the things that you share on Substack and in your on your social media, and it's like you can feel that that is something that just comes through you. So for people who are on this journey to reveal more of the light and to reconnect with their intuition and their inner guidance, their inner authority, but they often question, like, am I hearing, if what I'm hearing or sensing, is this my soul or is this my conditioning and my fear? Like, how do you help people to distinguish and discern between when the guidance is coming from that deeper truth or when it's coming from fear or conditioning? And I get asked this quite a lot, so I'm interested.
yeah. I just love the approach of radical curiosity
Mm,
with everything.
mm,
I am obsessively curious with everything that is emerging within me, around me. It's like, if it is something that is beautiful, I'm just like leaning in there and learning how to sometimes even indulge a little bit in that thing that feels beautiful. And when something is challenging, when I was younger, it's you know, I think it was judged a little bit within me, especially by people around me. But there was this weird curiosity around the thing that I was told I wasn't supposed to be curious about.
mm,
Like, I was asking the weirdest questions around, even the nature of evil when I was a kid, and I was just like, why? Or like, why would an angel want to be fallen? Like, what's wrong with them? What's happening? It's like, just forget about it. Just try to be. That was the answer that I was given. Just forget about it. Just try to be a loving person and all that. I was like, all right, fine. But isn't it interesting? Like, why would you want to be? Would you want to fall from heaven? Doesn't make sense.
mm,
It just didn't make sense. And what I started being with is life at large is intuition trying to be seen. And I think the weird moments where we feel the deep, profound resonance, it's like life looking back at us saying, "Oh, you see me."
mm,
Almost as if there's this presence that is constantly trying to get our attention. And we also have many assumptions around what intuition is supposed to look like and feel like. And for some people, it's like that thing I receive when I'm in a creative process. And for some people, it's like the moment where I feel that um I don't know, that alignment in my heart. And we have names like I'm a clear audience, clear sentient, and all these different things. We try to map even what intuition is. Um in my understanding at the moment, intuition is life trying to direct us towards truth. And I have received my own intuition while I was engaging some of my own shadow material. I believe that some of our resistance is intuition trying to bring us back towards truth and inner coherence.
Mm.
And the only way we are seeing it is when we start asking the question, what could be the highest purpose here? Even in what feels challenging, what could possibly be the highest purpose here? If God, if law, if source, if the universe was benevolent, what could possibly be the highest purpose here? And sometimes even an intention where we are asking that question can be the door open to that intuition, which is saying, dear higher self, dear God, dear source within me, I know that there's a higher purpose here,
Mm.
and I have a freaking hard time tapping into it. So I need you to make it as clear as possible
Mm.
so that I can see it, use a language that I can understand uniquely. And if my conditioning is trying to get on the way, act in whatever way you see fit to get my attention so that you can break through that conditioning. I am ready and
Mm.
available. Speak to me. That's an intention that many people aren't willing to say out loud. We say we want truth. Intuition is a truth redirection mechanism. It wants to redirect us towards truth. But if inside we are operating from thought forms of like, oh, I am afraid of truth because of what it will demand of me, oh, your intuition will feel fuzzy as fuck. It will feel like I can
Mm.
tap into it. If we are in a place where most people, I'll go on a tangent and say this. This is something I really believe in. I really believe most people know at a deep level what their intuition is, but they won't allow it to be fully to the forefront because deep down they sense, oh, the caliber of truth that is coming
Mm.
will demand change that they don't believe they are ready for. I believe in the concept of emotional real estate. It's like, do I have the emotional real estate to afford my intuition?
Mm.
If deep down you do not feel like you have that emotional real estate to afford your intuition, by all means, that protective mechanism inside of you is going to shut it down.
Yeah.
And if you are willing to step in a place where you're like, I am so scared about how this revelation of truth might be challenging, but I can't do it otherwise anymore. So bring it to me in all the ways you see fit. In my dreams, when I walk, in all the ways that are meaningful, bring it to me. So the quality of our intuition is intrinsically related to the quality of our relationship with truth. And if we have a distorted relationship with truth, our intuition is going to be it's not going to be stable. I'm going to take another example.
Mm.
There are many people in Wall Street who are not your intuitive. They will never go to do a tarot reading or anything like that, but they are so good
Mm.
at knowing when it's time to put their money on this thing. You might even say they are highly intuitive. They are so invested in that specific truth. Like the relationship that they have with the truth of like, I need to know where the stock is going to be when I put my money in. They are not avoidant here. There's no distortion there. They need that freaking
Mm.
truth. They are so
Mm.
attached to it. So some of these people are able to, more often than not, sense and tell. Like, they have a healthy relationship with that truth. Um, That's just an example, and I'm not sure how strong it is. But the whole point is the quality of our relationship with our intuition is, I believe, highly correlated to the quality of our relationship with truth in general, and also with our ability to handle sometimes the disillusionments that come with truth,
Yeah.
and maybe even our ability to handle the beauty that may unfold with like truth. It's like, can I handle actually joy and
Mm,
beauty? Am I willing
mm.
to go there? Yeah, that's what's coming.
What do you think we're most afraid of then?
I think that disillusionment is one big thing we are afraid of. I also think that truth, light, will not let us get away with not knowing how to love our inadequacies.
Mm,
When we hide, we don't have to meet the parts of us that we believed were unlovable. We don't have to. There is a quote by Marianne Williamson. It's like, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. That it's our light that frightens us most. I'm not sure I fully agree. I believe that we get scared of our light, but I also agree that all light and embracing it will not let us get away with not loving our inadequacies. It
mm.
comes up as this beam, and it's just highlighting the places where your love is still missing. And
Yeah.
it's saying, we can't go any further if you don't bring this part with you. This part needs to come into the light too. And I think this is what truth does.
Mm,
As soon as you bring light in, it shows you, well, this is still an aspect of you that you perceive as an inadequacy. I need you to descend light and love here.
yeah.
Love it. I think that's ultimately what shadow work is all about. Yeah.
How much love? I mean, you could say truth or you could say light or you could say love. Like, and I believe that's a big part of this journey here in this human incarnation is like how much can I love all of me? If I truly believe that I am the divine, if I truly believe that I am source, then there's no hiding, there's no not loving certain aspects. And it's really scary. It can be really scary. And then for those people who are listening to this saying, like, yeah, this does feel like a tall order. This does feel like I mean, we're compacting it in. This is something that this process of awakening, it's just like peeling off the layers of illusion and integrating more over years. But for people who are listening to this that think like, yeah, this seems like a really hard task. Talk to us about what's on the other side of this as we integrate our light more, as we stop hiding from our light, as we start expressing it more, and as we start loving ourselves more. What can we expect on the other side of that?
I used to think it was just making peace with all of who we are and accepting our inadequacies and all of that. Right now, I believe it's stepping into this place where you are even grateful for these things that you once perceived as inadequacies. It is stepping into this place where you are free to just be human, and that means bringing more of who you are in all different areas of your life. That means um, showing up from a place where you are not expecting perfection from yourself, and showing up from a place where your wounds are no longer calling the shots, your fears are no longer calling the shots. And that's something that is so elusive. Like for so many people, it's like, what
Mm,
does it even look like
mm,
to be in a relationship where my fear of rejection is no longer calling the shots about how I show up, about how I love, about how much I open my heart. And my fear of being rejected is also no longer calling the shots of my ability to set a boundary. It's like I can actually set a boundary and keep my heart open and staying there and being like, I am
yeah.
worthy of love, even if me expressing this boundary is causing you to pull away. Like, what does it look like for you to decide to shine your light and to actually bring the full force of your spirit behind the offers that you're putting out in the world? Let's say you're a facilitator, you're a coach, you're a healer of some kind, and you can be like, hey, I'm worthy of being here. I
Mm,
am worthy of sharing this gift. I can also do that imperfectly. I am holding myself not just to my divinity, but also to my humanness. And I'm worthy of being fairly and abundantly compensated for the work that I'm bringing, for the value that I'm bringing? What does it look like to do that? It's like that, I believe, is a gift of integration, where there is no posturing. It's
Mm.
just uh it's just finding our spine spiritually. It's like we used to walk feeling bent, and we are just finding our spine again. And what does it feel like, just as a thought form, to be in a place where we trust and we sense and we feel and we embody that our open heart is actually the safest place we will ever have. That if
Yeah.
somebody out there has the power to get us to shut down our heart, that person has way too much power over us.
Yeah.
If somebody out there has the power to get us to hate life in general, that person has way too much power over us. And that an open heart is not this fragile thing that will just break when the first tragedy happens. It is actually this vortex that is, I think of it as the philosopher's stone to a certain degree. It almost instantly transmutes things that feel like a burden. It
Mm.
creates a field around us that allows us to move through life and to remain loving to ourselves, regardless of what is unfolding. And in doing so, we can also be that with others. I think it is just liberation, our ability to meet these aspects of ourselves with an open heart. It is, to me, what liberation is at the moment.
Mm. Mm.
What all light wants to do, basically, it is to expose. I think it's Peter Crone who says that, to expose all the aspects of ourselves where we are not yet free. And the moment we do, we actually become free to. We are not free to be human yet,
Mm. Mm.
fully human. We are human, but it's like for the most part, we are unconsciously human. Fully conscious human is something that we've seen in the kinds of the Christ and the Buddha and things like that. And we are learning how to return to this or to embrace that. But yeah, it's like being fully consciously human, not some form of ascended thing. I don't
Mm.
even know what
Mm.
that's supposed to look like.
Mm.
To operate beyond this realm. Like, I want to be fucking here.
Yeah.
Being human is the purpose of my soul. How do I know? Because I am damn human. That soul decided to come here to be human. That means, as far as I know, factually, the purpose of my soul coming down here was to be human. I can speculate all day about, oh, I'm here to serve, I'm here to do this, I'm here to do all that. Yes, and sure, I'm going to do these things as long as they feel aligned. But here's a fact: your soul came here to be human.
Mm.
How about being fully human?
Mm.
So, yeah.
I love that. I love that. And expressing, you're right, allowing your light to express itself in the way that it so desires as well. It's like not needing anything, but also allowing yourself to desire everything, right?
Yes.
At the same time, because that is why you're here. Right?
Yeah.
Not to deny any of that, but to actually live it and embody it. So beautiful. I love the way that you share that, and you share that with such joy. And coming back to your point of curiosity, I just think that if there's one thing that we can really embrace within ourselves, and even when I think about my children, it's having that curiosity. And I think, we've been so used to being told what is the truth. We're being told what our reality is by a voice that's outside of ourselves. And this soul reclamation, like this coming home to ourselves, is a bigger call than ever right now, within a world that's noisier than it's ever been before.
Yeah.
We have more information at our fingertips than we ever have before. And this is the dance that we're in at the moment, is like, how do I continue to choose myself when it's so alluring to be able to just bypass that and be told from the outside who I am and what I'm to do and what I'm to think?
Yeah. I think the energies at the moment are basically guiding us towards the end of external authority.
Mm.
I think what people are noticing collectively with the fall of the external idols, whether it's
Yeah.
celebrities, politicians, the fall of all these people we put on pedestals with all the revelation that we see is just to embrace, hey, every single person you put on a pedestal is divinely designed to disappoint you
Yeah.
so that you can return to your own source of authority, which is inside. And the times we are in are asking for that. It's like, can you build your own unique relationship with truth, your own unique relationship with inner authority? I like to think of it. I use this term a lot because my conditioning has a lot of was tremendously religious, but it's like the ordination in the Christian tradition, which is somebody becoming a priest, is something that is now going to the masses. It's like at an individual level, we are getting ordinated. It's soul and spirit saying, you are your own priest, you are your own priest, you are your
Mm.
own priest. You no longer need a broker between you and God.
Mm.
And you no longer need a broker between you and God. You no longer need a spiritual real estate agent that is gonna go and negotiate there for the best price. And no, 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 no more spiritual. I mean, when I say no more, relatively, they're not gonna disappear. I understand that. I understand that even in my own line of work, some people might want to perceive me as that, even though I try to push that
Mm.
away. I'm like, nope, I'm not. I'm not here to play that role for you. Like, if you try to put me in that position, I know a circumstance, something will happen where you know I am going to disappoint you, maybe
Mm.
sometimes not willingly, but because it's the nature of the journey.
Mm.
It's like I am not meant to play the guru role for anybody else than just myself. It's like that alone is a tall order. So no, please no. So yeah, the collective ordination, like every single person coming into their own priesthood or guruhood, if that's the word. I feel like that's happening.
Mm. Amen to that too. It's like it's time. Tell us, Xavier, about your book, Scars of Gold, because it's such a beautiful, impactful name for a book. I'm sure there's a story behind that, but can you share a little bit about the impulse for that? It just
Whew.
came out last year, yeah?
Yeah, it came out in October 2025, and when the idea to write the book came probably in 2020 with a different title. The initial title that I wanted for the book was The Dark Night of the Ego. And then I was like, well, the journey doesn't end to the dark night. There is something that happens on the other side when we embrace the dark night. And one of the passages in the book that I like the most is, I think it is attributed to Rumi that the wound is a place where the light enters you. And I think of the scar of gold as, the scar that stays on your heart when the light is done entering you, something like that. And I think every single wound is a seed of light. And I think every single moment of hardship is two-faced, meaning it carries the highest purpose. When I go down every dark night I've gone through, sometimes when I'm going through the dark night, I have a hard time seeing the highest purpose.
Yeah.
And one of my prayers has become a prayer for my ability to see the highest purpose. It's like, dear source, dear God, I have a hard time
Yeah.
seeing the highest purpose right now. It's like right now I am so under the influence of my human impulses that I have a hard time seeing it. But I'm available for it and make it clearer. I've
Mm.
had moments where,
Mm.
you flirt with desperation and you're just like, I know it's not it, but in this moment I sometimes wish that, that this was it. And what I keep seeing is when we build the attributes of I am willing to descend in the places where I was told it is unsafe to descend, and I am willing to bring light, the light of presence, in the best of my ability, the light of like attempting to keep my heart open, even if it's just for 1 minute. When the emotional surge that comes up feels like it's going to tear me apart, maybe the tearing is actually what my system needs. Maybe something actually needs to tear. And maybe even in that, there's a benevolence in my system that
Mm.
is attempting to make room for what needs to emerge. So it is scars of gold to me represents that ultimate desire to be. to program the God field around you with benevolence. And so far, it has yet to fail me. I am pretty sure I'm going to face other moments that feel challenging. It's not the end of it.
Mm.
This is a principle that has carried me through many, many things. And the shadow integration practices that I offer in the book are some of the things that have carried me through the shifts and the identity upgrades that I needed to embrace to just be able to be the dad I want to be, the husband I want to be, the guide I want to be, and to continue to expand on that path. So this is what Scars of Gold is about. The archetypal shifts that are mentioned in the book. It's also you know, to ask the question, what does it take to be available, and not just available, but ready and willing to embrace your light? What does it take? What does it demand? What archetypal shifts are necessary? What does that actually look like? Am I ready? Do I have the spiritual stamina to actually reclaim the gifts that I know are here, that sometimes hide in the dark? But I know that if I go out there to reclaim them, they will come with an identity shift that scares the living shit out of me. Am
Yeah.
I willing to go there? That's what Scars of Gold wants to be a blueprint of. It's not just about relating to a shadow and seeing it as this kind of like, because shadow exploration sometimes I feel like it's portrayed as this grueling thing, and
Mm.
I'm like, God, it doesn't have to be. Yes, it's challenging. Yes, it's challenging. But if I really believe that even during the dark nights, it is the divine algorithm of
Yeah.
benevolence that sometimes I may not fully understand that is still at play, I can bring more ease to the journey. And that Scars of Gold is my attempt at offering a framework. It is really a framework. It is not like a book that you will read it's not a feel good book, even though at the end of it I want people to feel good about themselves. It is a journey. It is somewhat of an initiation. It is, yeah, it's a medicine journey. I wanted the book to be a medicine journey.
Mm.
And so far, that's the feedback that I received from many of the people. So I don't hold back in the book. So if somebody hears it and thinks, oh, I really want something that that has exercises that will move the needle, I am biased because I wrote the book, but I believe it will help to a certain degree.
And it's a necessary journey, right? As you say, like it's one that we can't ignore, that we need to walk through, and to be able to have a guide, a manual to support you. Because I think a lot of people look to that, right? We can experience our own version of a dark night of the soul or ego death. I mean, they're happening continually, particularly because Earth is evolving and we're upgrading our identity, and we have
Yeah.
to be able to let that part of us die or be integrated. So to be able to have something to support you in that process, I think would be incredibly impactful. So I'm going to put the details in the show notes. Let us know how else we can reach out to you or get in touch if we want to dive deeper into your work. I mean, you have so much to share. I know this only just scratches the surface of you and your immense wisdom. So it's just been amazing. So tell us about
Well,
how
I
we can
want to
connect.
on my I would say website, xavierdagba.com, on Instagram as well, same kind of handle, Xavier Dagba, and that's where people can get into my universe.
Beautiful. What an amazing universe that is too. If someone could take one shift away from this conversation about how to transform how they show up in life, how they start to embrace their life, their light, what would that be? What would you leave them with?
I would say God is not just benevolent when you're hiding. It is even more benevolent when you are willing to stop hiding. And that's and I'm inviting them to start programming the algorithm as if they are programming their social media algorithm in that way. If they're just willing to hold the thought, there is the hidden benevolence in this thing that feels challenging,
Mm.
and I'm available for it. I bet that the hidden benevolence will start to reveal itself more and more. And soon enough, they will operate from that place. even when things are challenging.
Yeah.
There's no bypassing in here.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, I understand this is a world of duality. So there's nothing dark that happens without something beautiful available as well. That doesn't justify the dark things. No, it doesn't. But it's like just like recognizing this is a benevolent world that I am co-creating with. I would leave them with that.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And it's all a choice, right? So so beautiful. Thank you so much, Xavier. I have loved this conversation. I will put all the
It's
details in
been
the
my
show
pleasure.
notes. Yeah, it's just gorgeous. So thank you. And thank you for just being you and for answering the call, whatever that took for you to do that, to answer the call and to step into your power. And it's just such a testament to what becomes possible when we do finally say yes, when we step out of the spiritual closet, when we start to embrace our gifts, and when we say to God and the divine, okay, whatever it takes, I'm willing to do this. I am willing,
Yeah,
show me the way. So thank you for answering that call.
of course.